Fox 2 presents Hancock and Kelly.
Good Sunday morning and welcome to Hancock and Kelly on Fox 2, where we take on the top issues of the week. On the right is John Hancock.
Good morning.
On the left, Michael Kelly.
Good morning, St. Louis.
And I'm Andy Banker. On the agenda, St. Louis City Sheriff goes to court to save his job. His attorney says a demand for evidence in the case is met with crickets from the other side. Is there actual momentum building now toward a rebirth of downtown St. Louis? Police crack down on crime. A massive new development clears a big hurdle, and the governor takes action to restore what he calls a global city. Keep your shoes on at the TSA checkpoint next time you fly. Is it safe, and how much time is it going to save us? And our quote of the week is from Pope Leo, who says, "Our world is burning," his call to action on climate change, and the Vatican going solar. Also, Missouri Senator Josh Hawley's victory lap in St. Louis County, and Democrats are quick to blame President Trump for tragic flooding in Texas. Are they too quick? Much too quick. But we begin with Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey taking St. Louis City Sheriff Alfred Montgomery to court to remove Montgomery from office after less than a year on the job. It was a fiery first hearing. One of the allegations against Montgomery is that he hired his brother, a man named Malik Taylor, in violation of state nepotism law. Montgomery's attorney says Taylor is not the sheriff's brother, and he brought the sheriff's father there to prove it.
He's sitting right there in the courtroom. And so you ask him questions, there he is. What did you hear? Crickets. And I know why you heard crickets, because they know the answer. That man was going to sit there and tell everybody, this Malik Taylor guy is not my son.
Even if the nepotism claim is proven to be false, potentially troubling information about Montgomery continues to surface. The Post-Dispatch reports he has failed to back up past claims that he was a licensed funeral director, that he had a sociology degree from Arizona State University, and that he had an associate's degree in political science from Lincoln University in Jefferson City. Montgomery has been accused of having a top city jail official handcuffed during a dispute, using sheriff's staff to transport his kids to and from school, making a deputy roll dice to keep his job, and failing to perform the department's primary duty, transporting inmates to and from court from jails and hospitals. The trial date in the case has been set for November 10th. So, John, apparently this is going to go on for months. Should it go on that long?
I'd like to see it go more quickly because I do think he's going to get removed from office. I think he should get removed from office. He's made a travesty of this office. And,
But isn't that nepotism claim one of the chief ones? And it seems to be.
Well, we'll see. You can't believe everything these lawyers say. And we'll see. I'm sure the Attorney General's got evidence that would substantiate that claim.
What does it say when that chief claim is already soon to be knocked down? Rather confidently.
Well, I don't know what's going on with the nepotism, but when you look at all the totality of everything you listed that this sheriff has been dealing with, I have to believe that there's some legitimacy behind it for the Attorney General to put it forward, because there was already enough damning evidence.
But people voted for him.
Right,
This is who they picked.
And they voted for Kim Gardner, and we suffered the consequences. And as the process played out over months in the courts, St. Louis continued to deteriorate as a result of it. Boy, it feels like Groundhog Day.
There are responsibilities. I mean, elected officials are responsible, should be responsible to do their job, do it well, not lie about their background, not rolling dice and firing people. I mean, this is not the behavior of an acceptable office holder.
After years of public outcry, St. Louis police target crime downtown at last. In a crackdown during Celebrate St. Louis festivities over the 4th of July holiday weekend, police arrested nearly 90 people, most of them juveniles, for fireworks violations, which often involve young people shooting them at each other or randomly at people driving or walking by. The suspects are as young as age 12, and you can see police also seized at least a dozen guns. Michael, police have now also enacted a weekend curfew for juveniles in downtown St. Louis from midnight to 5 a.m.
Yeah, I think it's a good step in the right direction, and we clearly have had one weekend of success. But that's after years of failure. So we've got to make this consistent and change behavior of people going down. The acceptance that people would take a gun like this anywhere is unbelievable. But we need to make it even more unacceptable for it to show up in downtown, because it will have consequences.
A 12-year-old was from Florissant, presumably without his parents. So he's not from the city. He's really no business downtown.
Well,
and then he gets arrested.
A couple
and he's
of thoughts.
12.
Yeah, a couple of thoughts. The crowd size that I saw, the aerial shot, was a little sad. There weren't the number of people that we've associated with going down for the 4th of July in the past, and it's understandable because of the crime. 90 arrests, Andy. I mean, that's
a lot.
90 separate, most of them juveniles. I do like the fact that the police were there. They were aggressive. They were making arrests. I do like that they're going to hold the parents accountable for these juveniles. I think that's going to take a big, hopefully make a big difference.
Is this where a turnaround starts for downtown? I mean,
I guess, but let's not lose sight that this was a huge focus effort too, right? With the days leading up, we said we were going to arrest your kids. We had cops there. I think if that type of presence and that type of attitude is what we have going forward, yes, this is a start to a monumental change, but I think that's a little premature.
Well, there may be some momentum because days after that crackdown came the announcement of a mega development downtown, the biggest since Ballpark Village. The Gateway Arch Park Foundation has closed on its acquisition of the long vacant Millennium Hotel site.
This project is so completely and absolutely vital to sparking a big shift in our momentum. This project is a win for the future of downtown and the city as a whole.
The finalizing of the $7.5 million purchase means the proposed $670 million development of the site on downtown's doorstep just south of the Arch can move forward. The Cordish companies, the developer behind Ballpark Village, are now waiting on the next steps, tax credits and environmental okays from the state of Missouri. But John, it looks like this is happening, and you couldn't have a more prime site in downtown St. Louis.
It's a great site. It's a great developer. Cordish has built Ballpark Village. They've got a good track record, not just in St. Louis, but nationally. This is exciting. It's an exciting development. And, again, you've got to address the crime problem to get people downtown. But the downtown entertainment hub should be a draw, not just within this region, but nationally, conventions. And, we're not there yet, but maybe we're starting to get there.
Has downtown reached its low point?
I hope. This is a huge step forward, and I hope this gets done. Look, we've got a lot of steps to go to get there on this, but think about what brings eyeballs to St. Louis nationally, right? It's the Gateway Arch and Cardinal baseball. This sits smack dab right in the middle of both of them. This is a part of our identity, and to see this transform could be that feeling, that oomph that's necessary.
Well, when you think about low points, you think about Cardinal baseball. I mean, not only is this when you're coming from Illinois, when you see all the beauty shots of downtown St. Louis, you see that Millennium site next to the Arch. And during Cardinal games, if you're in the stadium or watching on TV, you see it through the outfield, and you could see weeds growing through.
Yeah, it's got weeds on the roof.
Yeah.
I wish I had more weeds on the roof.
It's been empty for a long time. It's going to take years for it to come to fruition, but
it's at least 2 years just to tear it down. It's full of asbestos and all kinds of stuff.
But it looks like it's happening. And Missouri Governor Mike Kehoe adds to newfound downtown momentum. He signed a bill at Union Station creating a downtown entertainment district. A downtown governing board will be able to tap state funding to do things like hire extra security for top attractions. The governor has other sticks in the fire, though, in Kansas City, as the owners of the Chiefs and Royals seem to be playing Missouri and neighboring Kansas against each other to land lucrative new stadium deals. The teams have just asked the state of Kansas for another year to consider that state's offer to move the teams across the border. The governor talked about that in an exclusive TV interview with Fox 2's Mark Zinn.
It does give us an additional year to help the county or counties that these Missouri teams might stay in to put together the package they need to make sure these teams continue to be a Missouri business and a Missouri presence.
Michael, the owners of these teams are already uber rich. Is the governor right to let them hold the state and local governments over a barrel and somewhat similarly protect and grow assets with a new entertainment district in downtown St. Louis?
Well,
these two cities are the state's anchors, right?
Yeah, and it's important that we retain these assets. We have St. Louis as a case study of what happens when we lose them. The games that are being played with Kansas, look, this is a negotiation, and I'm grateful that we have a car dealer leading our side of the negotiation because Missouri cannot lose this battle, nor can we be played for the chump.
Yeah, I think there is a 0 chance that those teams move to Kansas. And
This governor's not going to let it happen.
no, he's not going to let it happen. And you know, when you think about, and look, stadium funding stuff is unpopular politically. And I don't know that there's another governor that I've seen in recent Missouri history that could have gotten that bill passed through that General Assembly to keep those teams in Missouri. I mean, that was a very successful negotiation.
Up next on Hancock and Kelly, conservative Republican Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri takes a victory lap with former St. Louis Congresswoman, progressive Democrat Cori Bush. Also, big changes next time you fly. Keep your shoes on at the airport check-in.
To hear more, listen to the podcast. Just search for Hancock and Kelly.
Republican U.S. Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri was in Hazelwood celebrating one of the biggest legislative wins of his career on an environmental issue, typically a strong suit for Democrats. St. Louis area victims of exposure to nuclear contamination from the atomic bomb World War II era Manhattan Project, Missouri will now be eligible for federal compensation.
It's a lot of people here in St. Louis and St. Charles, 21 different zip codes that are covered. Again, it's tens of thousands of people, maybe more, who are going to be eligible. And we want to make sure everybody who is eligible and has a need applies and gets the relief that they deserve.
I think the biggest part of what people can be doing while waiting for this application process to begin is start gathering your documents. Start trying to find the proof that you worked at a certain place or you lived in a certain place.
These people have been waiting on this for a long time, the expansion of the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act, or RECA. It's part of the big, beautiful bill just passed by Congress, which Democrats call the big, ugly bill. Should Democrats rethink that, Michael Kelly?
No, this is what happens when you have these big omnibus bills, is you're going to get a couple of cherries in there. Let's not forget, Josh Hawley spent the last year saying he would never vote for this bill if it had cuts for Medicaid. Guess what? He voted for the bill that had cuts for Medicaid. What he's doing now is hiding behind something that's very good, something he worked very hard on, as did the former congressperson, to do what was right for their constituents. But I think it's a little disingenuous to be up there with a mask in front of yourself with this bill when you said you weren't going to cut Medicaid.
What about the flip-flop, if you want to call it that, on Medicaid for
Well,
Josh Hawley?
they put his stuff in there. I mean, look what Lisa Murkowski walked away with out of that bill.
Isn't this the kind of wasteful spending that conservative Republicans decry? And actually, House Republicans voted against this repeatedly.
Right.
Until now.
I don't know that this would have passed otherwise, but it got put into this omnibus reconciliation package. You know, for the people that have been exposed to that nuclear waste, I think are pretty grateful it's in there. And, you know, and I'm not surprised that Josh Hawley voted for it at the end of the day. The Republicans could not pass that bill. Now, whether it's a good bill or a bad bill, we're all going to find out together. But they had to pass it, and they did.
And don't Democrats sometimes vote for something they said they were for, but just vote to get something through because it's got something critical to them?
Sure. And that's what Josh Hawley's doing right now, is taking advantage of that because he's got a bad pile he doesn't want to show.
Can't wait to take my next flight somewhere and not have to take off my shoes to get through airport security. I know I'm not alone. The so-called shoe bomber. Remember him? Richard Reed tried to detonate a bomb hidden in his shoes just months after the September 11th attacks in 2001. The shoe removal policy followed years later. Now, after nearly 2 decades of that, with security slowdowns as passengers removed and TSA agents checked their shoes, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem has announced, effective immediately, air travelers no longer have to take off their shoes to get through the checkpoints. How much might this speed things up, John? And do you trust that it's safe?
A little bit. Look, you got these, whatever these readers are where you stand there and they take you, you know, you have to imagine the technology exists to be able to detect if somebody's got a bomb in their shoe without having to take the shoe off and put it on the counter and put the shoe back on. I think this is a good decision.
Have we been wasting our time for 20 years taking off our shoes?
John's exactly right. Technology's caught up. Look, you don't want to be the person who takes this regulation away and then has a shoe do what this bomber was intending to do. So I think it's safe.
Still to come on Hancock and Kelly, are Democrats right to blame the tragic, deadly flooding in Texas on President Trump, at least partly? And the first U.S. Pope calls out the world on the climate crisis. But is it really pointed at his homeland, the United States? It's our quote of the week. A lot of you may hope that when we face a natural disaster like our May 16th tornado in St. Louis or the deadly flooding in central Texas, that politics would take a back seat. That's not the case. Democrats in Congress are calling for an investigation into the impact of Trump administration cutbacks at the National Weather Service on the tragedy in Texas.
So yesterday I asked for an investigation into what role, if any, the administration's staff cuts to local National Weather Service stations played in preparedness and response to the Texas tragedy.
These calls from Democrats started coming within a matter of hours of the tragedy unfolding, with still no indication that Trump administration cutbacks at the National Weather Service had anything to do with the mass loss of life in central Texas. Authorities are focusing on state and local communications now about the potential for dangerous weather there, which was known prior to the flooding. Michael, is it okay for Democrats to immediately start pointing fingers at the president and then keep doing it even if there's no basis for it?
Well, first of all, we don't have the evidence in front of us yet to know whether or not there's a basis. I think it's a fair and legitimate question that an investigation should take place around. I find it interesting the Republicans would be upset about that. I mean, Joe Biden breathed they wanted to investigate it. This is a legitimate investigation that ought to take place. It can't happen immediately. We're still saving or trying to recover bodies in Texas right now, but it's a fair question to be asked.
Hasn't President Trump done this very thing when Biden was in office during the East Palestine, Ohio train derailment, Hurricane Helene in North Carolina?
Two wrongs don't make a right. To politicize this thing, look, what we know is that an alert went out in the afternoon with a flash flood, in effect, a watch. The conditions were ripe. We know that this was a 100-year type of event. We know that they had the warning issued after 1 o'clock in the morning. There's nothing you can do about that, I suppose. I mean, and then 3 hours later is when the river rose, and those alerts went out, but they were at a really bad time, and a really big tragedy ensued. But I think it is completely wrong to blame politics for this.
Does timing matter? I mean, you said you're still trying to find bodies.
Right.
And you got Democrats in Congress just saying, well, the Trump cutbacks.
I think it speaks
Can't
to
you
a
wait
bigger
until
narrative.
everybody's found,
Yeah.
what's the rush?
Well, I think it speaks to a bigger narrative that Democrats want to push, and that is post these DOGE cuts, post this idea that we're going to do away with FEMA. We still have disasters, and even Republican governors are squealing for FEMA to come in and help them, that we want to make sure that these cuts aren't impacting the things that are going to do our daily lives. It's a good message for
Will
Democrats.
there be a backlash given the timing?
When is there ever a good time? Well, we're going to have another tragedy here soon. Don't forget, we just had a tornado less than a month or two ago here.
Right. I hate to see this stuff get politicized. I don't like it when either side does it.
Now to our quote of the week. Pope Leo is praying for the world to take notice of the urgency of the climate crisis. The quote comes from a mass celebrated in the gardens of the Vatican's new Ecological Education Center. Leo appears to be ready to move ahead on Pope Francis's plan to convert a field in northern Rome into a solar farm that would entirely power Vatican City, making it the world's first carbon neutral state at a price tag of nearly $120 million. Here's the quote from the first U.S.-born Pope. "We live in a world that is burning, both because of global warming and armed conflicts. We see so many natural disasters, in part caused by the excesses of being human." Michael, is this a shot at current U.S. leadership, and is he right to take that shot?
I think it's a statement of fact. And if you're trailing the Vatican and changing policy to what's happening in the real world, you're falling behind. And so if America seems to be fighting a lot of the reforms that the rest of the world is starting to acknowledge we ought to do, I think kudos for the Pope for putting a spotlight on what needs to be done.
John?
Yeah, good for him. It's not going to make much difference in terms of global warming. Look, the climate is changing. Guess what? The climate's always changing. And it is getting warmer. And yes, that does have some bad effects. The question is, how much of that is man-made and how much of that is just natural? And I don't know that. I don't think the science on that is settled.
Well, of course it's settled, but if we can do better, why wouldn't we? And what's amazing to me is the poster board of the Republican Party, Elon Musk, has been one of the people out there fighting for this stuff. Why don't people see that this is an opportunity not only for economics, but to do something right for our planet?
I think a lot of people are.
Final thoughts are next. First, Drone Fox with a look at the Price Waterhouse Coopers building in Ballpark Village. Years ago, when this building went up, I got to sign one of the iron beams. I signed my dad's and my grandpa's name. Final thoughts, Michael?
Yes, earlier we talked about that entertainment district in downtown St. Louis. That's a big deal for St. Louis. This can help change things.
John?
Well, you know, the sheriff has got a world of problems out there. Andy, Michael, perhaps he needs to roll a couple of dice, see what happens. Save us a lot of that court cost.
He's going to leave it there. That's the final thought for this Sunday from
That's all I got.
and Michael. And for me, I'll just say if it's Sunday in St. Louis, it's Hancock and Kelly on Fox 2. We'll see you next week.